interoperability, interchangeability, and joint.
One thing when it comes to the Gripen system is of course interoperable with Link 16 and Link 22. It's completely NATO operable.
So it will be supply chain, research and design and development, because this aircraft is upgradable continuously because of...
Unbelievable. Sweden just made an offer that nobody saw coming. 88 Gripen E fighters, upgraded Rolls-Royce engines, full technology transfer, domestic assembly rights, total operational freedom. And all of it offered to Canada. What followed wasn't outrage or celebration. It was silence. A strange, uncomfortable silence from Washington. No press conferences. No official warnings. Just internal alarm bells, diplomatic smiles, and frantic conversations behind closed doors. Because this wasn't just another fighter jet deal. This was a challenge to a system that's controlled Western air power for more than 70 years. For the first time, a European country wasn't just offering hardware. They were offering independence. And Canada is listening. For over a decade, Canada has been stuck in a quiet crisis. One most people outside defense circles barely talk about. The CF-18, Hornets, the backbone of the Royal Canadian Air Force, have been flying since the 1980s. They've been upgraded, patched, stretched far beyond what they were designed for. Each year they become more expensive to maintain, harder to deploy, and less suited for the missions Canada now faces, especially in the Arctic. That region is no longer a frozen buffer. Russian patrols are increasing. Chinese research vessels are pushing further north. Strategic competition is creeping into territory Canada has long taken for granted. And when it comes to defending that vast airspace, aging jets aren't enough. The solution seemed obvious: the F-35. For years it was presented as the inevitable choice: advanced, stealthy, integrated. With NATO, Canada committed to buying dozens of them, with an initial price tag that looked manageable on paper. But paper never tells the whole story. As public budget reports emerged, the real numbers started to surface. Not just the purchase cost, but decades of maintenance, training, infrastructure upgrades, and operational expenses. The total price ballooned far beyond early promises. Defense analysts pointed out combat readiness rates hovering far lower than expected, cost per flight hour climbing into staggering territory. And behind all of that sat a quieter issue most people miss entirely. Canada doesn't control the jet, the software, the upgrades, the weapons integration, even certain maintenance decisions. None of it is truly Canadian. Every major change requires approval. Every system update flows through Washington. Canada doesn't own the source code. They don't fully control the supply chain. And if terms change, Ottawa has very little room to push back. That's not a flaw in the system. That is the system. And Sweden understood that perfectly. Because when Stockholm stepped in, they didn't pitch the Gripen E as just another fighter. They pitched it as a different philosophy altogether, one built around control, flexibility, and survival, not dependency. They offer stunned analysts full technology transfer, domestic assembly inside Canada, the ability to modify software without asking permission, freedom to integrate weapons and sensors independently, and the chance to build a national defense industrial ecosystem from the ground up. Thousands of jobs, Canadian engineers trained at home, critical expertise kept domestic instead of outsourced. This wasn't just about jets in the sky. It was about rebuilding sovereignty that had slowly eroded over decades. But Sweden isn't naive. This wasn't generosity. This was strategy. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Europe's view of security has changed dramatically. Arctic stability is no longer theoretical. Baltic tensions aren't abstract. Sweden realized that relying entirely on one dominant power, even a friendly one, carries risks. And if Europe wants resilient defense networks, it needs partners who can operate independently when necessary. Canada fits that vision almost perfectly. A massive Arctic coastline, a central role in NORAD, deep experience operating in extreme environments, and a political system capable of making long-term strategic choices, even under pressure. That pressure is real, because what truly unsettles Washington isn't the Gripen's performance on paper, it's what the Gripen represents. The jet itself isn't the biggest, it isn't the fastest, and it doesn't have the same stealth profile as the F-35. But it's built for a different kind of war. The Gripen E was designed to survive, to take off from icy highways, to land on short, damaged runways, to be serviced by a small team in minutes, not hours. Its radar is optimized for dense electronic warfare environments. Its electronic systems are designed to confuse, blind, and disrupt enemy sensors. And its upgraded Rolls-Royce engine allows it to operate reliably, in harsh climates without massive logistical support. Then there's the modular architecture. This is where things get uncomfortable for traditional defense planners. Because modular systems mean freedom. Freedom to upgrade without permission. Freedom to integrate national technology. Freedom to evolve as threats change. Independent analysts estimate operating costs dramatically lower than fifth-generation alternatives. Readiness rates significantly higher. Faster deployment, less infrastructure, less bureaucracy. But none of that is the real issue. The real issue is control. For more than 70 years, American aerospace dominance hasn't just been about having the best jets. It's been about shaping an ecosystem where allies depend on U.S. systems for upgrades, maintenance, and decision-making. Want to modify weapons? Approval required. Want to adjust software? Permission needed. Want to shift operational doctrine? Better align with Washington's priorities. That system created stability, but it also created leverage. The Gripen breaks that model. If Canada chooses it, they prove that advanced air power doesn't have to come with strings attached. And that idea is dangerous, not militarily, but politically, because others are watching. Poland has begun reassessing future procurement plans. Finland, NATO's newest member, is still weighing long-term fleet decisions. Australia, already operating the F-35, has publicly raised concerns about maintenance costs and readiness challenges. Even Germany has started questioning whether the current defense model is sustainable in the long run. One decision in Ottawa could ripple far beyond Canadian borders, and the reactions tell the story. NATO issued carefully worded praise, emphasizing interoperability and alliance standards. That wasn't resistance. That was neutrality, quiet acceptance. Washington, meanwhile, said nothing. No statements, no briefings, just silence. But according to reports, behind closed doors, the pressure began. Diplomatic conversations, strategic reminders, subtle warnings about trade, technology cooperation, and Canada's role in NORAD. Not threats, suggestions, the kind meant to steer decisions without making headlines. Inside Canada, the debate has turned fierce. One camp argues the alliance with the United States is the foundation of national security. That upsetting Washington carries risks far greater than any financial savings or industrial benefits. That the F-35 ensures deep integration with allies and guarantees long-term strategic alignment. The other camp sees things differently. They argue dependency is the weakness. That sovereignty doesn't mean isolation, but choice. That Canada can remain a committed ally without surrendering control over its own defense. That the future belongs to flexible systems, not locked ecosystems. Europe is watching closely, because if Canada, a long-standing U.S. partner, chooses a different path, it sends a message. That diversification isn't betrayal. That autonomy isn't rebellion. That modern alliances don't have to rely on dependency to function. For Canada, the implications are massive. Operational freedom, economic growth, Arctic optimized capability, domestic industrial revival, but also political risk, diplomatic friction, and the challenge of stepping outside a framework that's existed for generations. This isn't a simple procurement choice. It's a philosophical one. Security versus sovereignty, integration versus independence, comfort versus control. There's no perfect answer. The F-35 offers unmatched stealth and deep NATO integration, but at enormous long-term cost and limited autonomy. The Gripen E offers flexibility, affordability, and control, but comes with the risk of unsettling a powerful ally. That's the reality, sovereign. Nations face in a world where power is shifting and old, rules are being questioned. Sweden has made its move. Washington has reacted, quietly. And now the world is waiting for Canada. Because whatever Ottawa decides won't just determine what flies over Canadian skies. It will help define whether the future of defense is built on dependency or choice. When security and sovereignty can't walk hand in hand, which one do you choose? This content is analytical and compiled from publicly available information. It does not reflect classified material or official positions of any government or organization. Any mention of countries, companies, or individuals is for contextual analysis only